Welcome back to the EMT Spot's Blood Pressure Podcast. I'm Samuel Harrison, and with me today is the wonderful Olivia Harper. The weather's turning colder, and you know what that means. Cold and flu season.
It is upon us.
So we thought it'd be a good time for a deep dive into a question I'm sure a lot of our listeners are wondering about.
Oh, yeah.
Can you take over-the-counter cold medicine if you have high blood pressure?
Such a good question, and one we get a lot.
So let's break it down.
Yeah.
What is it about those medicines that could be a problem for someone with hypertension?
Well, a lot of cold medicines have decongestants in them. You know, those ingredients that help relieve that stuffy nose.
Right.
Decongestants work by constricting blood vessels, and that helps shrink that swollen nasal tissue and lets you breathe better. But here's the catch.
Oh.
That same vasoconstriction can happen in other blood vessels, too.
Oh.
Not just the ones in your nose.
I see.
Throughout your body, and that can temporarily increase your blood pressure.
So it's not just like a localized thing in your nose.
No.
It affects the whole system.
Exactly. So if you already have high blood pressure, adding a decongestant on top of that could be a problem.
Are there any specific decongestant ingredients that people should be particularly careful with?
Yeah, there are a few common ones to look out for: pseudoephedrine,
Okay.
ephedrine, and phenylephrine. Those are some of the big ones you see in a lot of popular medicines.
Right.
Also, keep an eye out for nafazoline and oxymetazoline.
Okay.
Those are often found in nasal sprays.
So if you're looking at a label and you see any of those ingredients and you have hypertension, it's best to just avoid it.
Pretty much. It's always a good idea to talk to your doctor or pharmacist before taking any new medication, especially if you have any other health conditions.
That's great advice. Let's say you're feeling under the weather, but you're trying to be careful about your blood pressure. What are some safe alternatives to those decongestant-containing cold meds?
Well, luckily there are some good options out there. First, you can look for cold medicines that are specifically made for people with high blood pressure. They don't have decongestants in them. Another thing to be careful of is pain relievers. Naproxen sodium is in some popular ones, and that can also increase blood pressure.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So what are some safer options if you need something for pain or fever?
Acetaminophen or aspirin are generally considered safe.
Okay.
And for congestion, saline nasal spray can be really helpful.
Yeah, I love saline spray.
It just helps rinse everything out, clears things up without the blood pressure risks.
Nice. Simple, but it works.
Exactly.
I've also heard of coricidin, HPP.
Oh, yeah.
Is that one safe for people with hypertension?
Yeah, it's a good option.
Okay.
It's specifically made without decongestants.
What about some of those natural remedies that people talk about?
Oh, definitely.
Could those help manage a cold, especially if you have to be mindful of your blood pressure?
Absolutely. Sometimes natural remedies are the best way to go, especially if you're trying to avoid medicines that might affect your blood pressure.
What are some of your favorites? What would you recommend?
Well, first of all, hydration is key. You got to drink plenty of fluids.
Okay.
Water, herbal tea, even chicken soup can help thin out the mucus and keep you hydrated.
Love a good chicken soup.
And rest is really important, too. Give your body a chance to fight off that infection.
Yeah, don't push yourself too hard.
And a humidifier can really make a difference.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It adds moisture to the air, and that can help with the congestion.
Absolutely.
What else? Honey is a great natural remedy.
Yeah.
It soothes the sore throat and has antibacterial properties. You can put it in hot tea or even make a cough syrup with it.
I like that. Honey, lemon, warm water.
Exactly. And, you know, another thing to keep in mind is to dress warmly when it's cold outside.
That's true.
You don't want to make your symptoms worse.
It's amazing how sometimes the best medicine is no medicine at all.
You're so right. We're so used to wanting a quick fix, but colds are usually self-limited.
Yeah.
They run their course and eventually go away on their own.
They do.
And while those over-the-counter medicines might make you feel better temporarily,
Right.
they don't actually make you get better faster.
Interesting. So no magic bullet.
Pretty much. It's more about supporting your body's natural healing process.
So you're saying those medicines might even prolong the cold?
In some cases, yeah. Or even make you more susceptible to complications, like decongestants, for example.
How so?
Well, they can dry out your nasal passages,
Uh-huh.
and that can make it easier for bacteria to grow.
Oh, wow. So you might feel less stuffy for a little bit,
Right.
but you could end up being sick for longer.
Exactly. It's all about weighing the risks and benefits and making informed choices about your health.
We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Everything from what ingredients to watch out for to those natural remedies. But before we move on, let's just do a quick recap of the key takeaways for our listeners. What would you say are the main points?
Okay, so the most important thing is if you have high blood pressure, You have to be really careful with cold medicines, especially those with decongestants.
Okay. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist about safer options. And sometimes the best approach really is just letting your body do its thing.
Great advice, and maybe make friends with saline spray and a humidifier this season.
Definitely.
Now, this conversation brings up another question for our listeners. Knowing what we know about cold medicine and blood pressure, how might we approach this cold and flu season differently? What are some other things we can do to stay healthy?
That's a great question.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back to explore those ideas. Right here on the EMT-Spot's Blood Pressure Podcast. Welcome back to the EMT-Spot's Blood Pressure Podcast. We're talking about how to handle those colds when you also have to keep an eye on your blood pressure.
Making good choices is key. Understanding how those different remedies can affect your body.
So what about those multi-symptom cold medicines?
Yeah.
The ones that have like everything in them?
Yeah, those can be tricky.
Are they okay for people with high blood pressure?
Well, they often combine decongestants with other things like pain relievers and antihistamines.
Oh, yeah.
So you really have to read the label carefully if you have hypertension. Look for ones that are specifically designed for folks with high blood pressure.
So it's not just about avoiding the decongestants.
Right.
It's about looking at the whole formula.
Exactly. You might be better off addressing each symptom individually with safer alternatives. Like instead of a multi-symptom thing that has a decongestant, you could take a decongestant-free pain reliever,
Okay.
acetaminophen or something like that,
Right.
and then use a saline spray for the congestion.
Makes sense. Breaking it down, making targeted choices.
Yeah.
We talked about staying hydrated earlier.
Yeah.
What about electrolyte drinks? Are those helpful when you have a cold, or is that overkill?
I get that question a lot. And honestly, for a typical cold, you're probably fine with just water, tea, or broth.
Okay, so the basics are usually enough.
Yeah. Electrolyte drinks are great if you've been exercising really hard
Right.
or if you're having like vomiting or diarrhea, but they're not usually necessary for just a cold.
So stick with water, tea, soup.
Got it. We've talked a lot about managing the symptoms, but what about preventing colds in the first place?
That's important too.
Especially if you're already managing high blood pressure. What can we do to boost our immune systems?
Well, a healthy lifestyle is really your foundation.
Yeah, makes sense.
Eating nutritious foods, getting enough sleep, managing stress, and exercising regularly are all super important.
It's amazing how those healthy habits we always hear about really do make a difference.
They really do. When your body is well nourished and rested, it can fight off those viruses so much better.
Makes sense. Are there any specific nutrients that are particularly helpful for immune function?
Yeah, there are a few key players. Vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, and probiotics are all really important.
So maybe some citrus fruits, some sunshine, and some fermented foods.
Exactly. And don't forget about the power of connection. Spending time with people you love, doing things that bring you joy, and having a positive outlook can really have an impact on your immune health, too.
It's amazing how connected our physical and mental well-being are.
Absolutely.
It's not just about taking medicine or avoiding certain ingredients. It's about taking care of ourselves in a holistic way.
I love that. It's about creating a lifestyle that helps our bodies stay strong and healthy.
So, Olivia, as we're wrapping up this part of our deep dive, what are some final pieces of advice you would give our listeners who are trying to navigate colds and high blood pressure?
Be informed and be proactive. Read labels, carefully talk to your doctor or pharmacist, and don't be afraid to ask questions. There are so many options out there, both over-the-counter and natural remedies.
Right.
It's about finding what works best for you.
It's about empowering ourselves to make those good decisions about our health. Before we move on, let's just highlight those key takeaways again. Could you recap those for us?
Sure. So if you have high blood pressure and you get a cold, here's what you need to remember. Decongestants can raise your blood pressure, so avoid them or talk to your doctor before using them. Look for cold medicines that are specifically made for people with high blood pressure. Usually they don't have decongestants. Acetaminophen and aspirin are safe pain relievers, but avoid naproxen sodium. Saline nasal spray is great for congestion and doesn't affect your blood pressure. And consider those natural remedies like hydration rest honey and a humidifier. And of course, a healthy lifestyle is your best defense overall. Good nutrition, exercise, stress management, and enough sleep.
Those are great reminders. This has really given me a lot to think about.
Me too.
I'm sure our listeners feel the same way. We're back for our final segment here on the EMT-Spot's Blood Pressure Podcast. You know, before we wrap up, I wanted to go back to something we talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Building a lifestyle that really supports your immune system.
Right.
It's not just about what you do when you're sick.
Mm-hmm.
It's about those everyday things that can help you stay healthy.
Absolutely. Little things you can do every day can make a big difference.
So what are some simple things that people can do to boost their immune health, especially if they have to be mindful of their blood pressure?
We'll start with your diet. Make sure you're eating lots of fruits, vegetables, lean protein, and whole grains. Those colorful fruits and veggies are packed with antioxidants and vitamins.
It's like giving your body the tools it needs to stay strong.
Exactly. And don't forget about sleep. When you don't get enough sleep, your immune system weakens. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep every night.
I know I can tell when I haven't slept well. My energy is low, and I'm way more likely to catch a cold.
It makes a huge difference. And what about exercise?
Oh yeah, exercise is important too.
Right. Regular physical activity is great for your immune system. Even moderate exercise like brisk walking or gardening can make a difference.
Gets your blood pumping.
Yeah, improves circulation, reduces stress, helps your body's natural defenses.
Get moving, get healthy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And stress management is super important too.
Oh yeah, stress can really take a toll.
It can. Chronic stress weakens your immune system. You're more likely to get infections. So find some healthy ways to manage that stress. Meditation, deep breathing, spending time in nature, listening to music.
It's all about finding what works for you and doing it regularly.
Right. And remember, a healthy lifestyle isn't just about preventing colds.
That's true.
It's about taking care of your whole self, body and mind. When you take care of your health, you're setting yourself up for a happier, healthier life.
I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive into cold medicine and blood pressure, I want to leave everyone with a challenge.
Ooh, a challenge. I like it.
Pick one healthy habit to focus on this week. Just one.
Okay.
It could be something small. Add an extra serving of veggies to your meals. Go for a 30-minute walk. Create a relaxing bedtime routine.
I love it.
It's not about being perfect. It's about taking those little steps towards a healthier you.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Share your goals with a friend or join an online group for support.
That's a great idea. Having that support system can make a big difference. Well, Olivia, thank you so much for all of this. It's been so helpful.
You're welcome. It's been fun.
And to all of our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in to the TheEMTSpot's Blood Pressure Podcast. Be sure to subscribe for more evidence-based information and tips on managing your blood pressure and living a healthy life. I'm Samuel Harrison.
And I'm Olivia Harper.
Wishing you all the best. Stay healthy, everyone.